Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're going to be looking at the Colt M45A1 Marine Corps pistol. Now, those of you who know me, you know I'm not an M1911 fan. I'm sure that's going to come through in this video as well. But what we're going to talk about is tradition. And how interesting tradition is in the fact that it can cloud judgment as to being able to know better equipment when you see it. And that has been the story with the M1911 since 1985. The lure of the 1911 has been certainly very active since 1985 with the adoption of the Beretta M9. Even though the entire world has surpassed the United States by going to 9mm handguns, high capacity, more reliable, more durable, more accurate for the average shooter, the U.S. has pretty much tried to hold on to the lure of the M1911. Not so much with any branches short of the Marine Corps. For the most part, special operations guys have used the M9. They've used the SIG P226, including the SEALs. Probably around the early 1990s, SOCOM put out a requirement for the Mark 23 pistol, or the offensive handgun weapon system, which was 45 auto. However, the Marine Corps had still used the 1911, the MARSOC guys with the MUSOC 45, Springfield Armory, and some various ones. Now, even though the global war on terrorism has shown time and time again the ineffectiveness of the M1911 due to its low capacity, its reliability, its durability issues, General Keyes, president of Colt, or CEO of Colt, was a 3-star general with the Marine Corps. And if you see, there are 3 stars on this pistol. You have Colt, 3 stars. Those 3 stars refer to General Keyes, a 3-star general with the Marine Corps. That's where those come from. He had worked with MARSOC and the Marine Corps on getting a new 1911 adopted. Now, interesting, some authors you'll see how this pistol went through rigorous testing. However, as you will see from the photographs we're going to put up here, the initial trials were a disaster. Both the frame and the slide had cracked, which were issues that you didn't see with modern 45 caliber pistols. However, it was still adopted. It went into service, and there were some immediate issues that came out. First and foremost was the inability to utilize the pistol as a support weapon or something for cover fire. You are not going to provide cover fire with 6 rounds of fire. It's not going to happen. I can tell you from personal experience of being out at CASADC, which is King Abdullah Special Operations Training Center, which is in Jordan. It's a special operations training center that's utilized throughout the world. They hold every year what they call the Warrior Competition, where they have special operations teams from all over the world that compete. About 4 or 6 years ago or so, MARSOC was out there, and they had their trusty old 1911s. And they got their asses handed to them in all these competitions because they were competing up against guys with Glock 17s and SIG 226s. And there was no way that they could hold up to the speed these guys were with by having 15 shots or 17 shots in their magazines versus the 7. The guys were coming off shaking their heads, and they were pissed off because there was no way that they could compete with it. And the durability and reliability has always plagued the 1911, contrary to popular belief. Now, am I saying that the 45 is not a viable combat round? Absolutely not. The 45 is an excellent combat round in a modern pistol. We're going to briefly show you a couple of modern pistols. SIG P227, 14-shot capacity, suppressor capable. You have a single action, and you have decocking. You can carry the pistol with no safety. Excellent option. Number 2 was the HK USP Tactical. Excellent pistol. You have the ability to carry this cocked and locked, decocked, safety on or safety off. A recoil reduction mechanism, so this pistol can handle every round that's available, including steady diets of plus P ammunition. You have a 12-shot capacity. Excellent firearm, and it works beautifully suppressed. You also have a 13-shot Glock 21, which will handle any ammunition required of it, including plus P ammunition on a regular basis without any issue. You have the 13-shot capacity. You have lower recoil. You have a larger grip. You have a gun much easier to shoot. So, absolutely not. The 45 is a very, very viable combat round. However, this gun is very simple. This gun is no longer, it's outdated. There are many better options. You have to carry this thing cocked and locked, which many people have an issue with, myself included. The only real benefit this has over the standard 1911 was it does have a firing pin safety. So if the pistol was to be dropped, the inertia would not set it off. If we look at the standard 1911, and we're going to go over the changes that went from this to this. First off, we have the Coyote tan finish. This finish had caused many of these pistols to be returned to Colt and decommissioned due to the fact that the Cerakote was coming right off. Colt had to change that with a newer finish so they would be acceptable for the use. Now, those pistols are identified by having where it would say Marines. The original pistols would say M45 USMC. The USMC was X'd right out, so it was no longer a USMC pistol. You have the Novak type sights on it. You have gripping grooves on the front and the rear. You have the 1913 rail on the bottom. You have improved grips. You also have a improved back strap. The original back strap would get you right in the web of your hand here, causing severe bleeding and blistering, which hurt quite a bit. You do have the commander-style hammer. You do have an ambidextrous safety on it as well. But other than that, it is basically the same thing that's been going on since 1911. Is this a good pistol? Certainly it's a good pistol. Those of you who like 45s, it's got a national match barrel in it. You know, it is an excellent pistol. For as far as it being a military grade pistol, I definitely would take exception to that. I don't believe so. And that was proven more recently with the Marine Corps now adopting the Glock 19 over this, because it was just found that it is not effective. You know, at some point we have to look at weapons and say, you know, they've run their course. There's much better equipment that's out there, and that is absolutely true with the M1911. In its day, it was going up against the you know, the Luger. It was going up against you know, even at that point, the high power originally, the Nambu. You know, it was going up against pistols that were very similar to it. You know, once the adoption of the high power came out in the CZ75, that totally changed the entire concept for modern combat pistols. Those were the beginnings of the modern day combat pistol, which would have the Stig come out of that, the Beretta come out of that, you know, the Smith & Wesson series. You'd have, you know, a whole line of modern combat pistols, high capacity 9mm combat pistols. Now the issue comes up about the cartridge. Well, you know, 45 is more effective as a man stopper. Well, the reality is, your average soldier for use of a 45, comparing a 45 to say an M9 Beretta, that soldier has been proven to shoot consistently better and more accurately with the 9mm. The lighter recoil, it's better to have 2 hits than 1 miss with the heavier recoil of the M1911. Your guys who are better trained, your special operations guys, or your guys who go in having a lot of experience with handguns, they don't see that as much of an issue. Recoil was easier. Recoil is more easy. It's more manageable to shoot rapid fire. It's more easily to have a high capacity magazine to provide cover fire if your rifle was to go down. You know, tactically, the list goes on of what's better about the 9mm over the 45 and 1911. Now, if you were to switch over to one of the pistols I just saw you with the higher capacity, your situation does a complete 360. You have the exact same benefits. However, you still will have the issue with better performance with newer soldiers with a 9mm than you do a 45 caliber. It's just new people, they react better with lighter caliber weapons. You know, we found that with our SOCOM guys too. If you look at the introduction of the SIG 226 and the M9 in 1985, that was mostly during peacetime. So the SOCOM guys, the SEALs, they got very used to their P226s or their M9 pistols, low recoil, accurate shots. They like that low recoil. Then when the combat started during Global War of Terror, you know, Gulf War II here, they were going in and they were shooting people multiple times with 9mm rounds, and they were going through and they weren't stopping. They wanted to go back to the 45 for the more stopping power. That was very brief as well. The Mark 23 Cruiser pistol was never really accepted by anybody because of its size, even though it did everything that it was asked. 45 caliber suppressed and so forth. They did not want it because of that extensive recoil. Harder to hold. It's, you know, bigger, weighs more. You know, they ended up going right back to those 9mm pistols, and to this day, most of your SEALs will be having Glock 19s, or they'll be having SIG 226s. You do have your Marine Corps, which is probably the core units that decide to stay with the 1911, and even at this point, you're seeing that go back to the 9mm and to the Glock 19 pistol. The pistol was released to commercial use probably around 2013, I think it was, in that area in there. The pistol was adopted in 2012 by the Marine Corps. And pretty much right out the gate, we started seeing the issues with the wearing. But the more they were used in combat, the more these were being dropped, and they were going back. They were going back to the Glock 19s. Again, a gun that's probably nearly half the weight, carries double the ammunition, much easier to shoot, smaller. It's modern technology. You know, the new Glocks had the 1913 rails on the bottom of them too, so for putting the flashlights. So I think we're seeing realization taking over of what a true combat pistol is, even within the Marine Corps. But for those of you who are diehard 1911 fans, you guys are going to swear this is the greatest thing in the world, and all the more power to you. You know, one thing about, you know, gun guys is they all have their own opinions on what they like and what they think is the best. You know, that's why we have all these different options out there for you. I'm not a 1911 fan, as you know, and it's just the way that it is. That's from my experience. Somebody else will think very differently. But I'm sure for those of you guys who are 1911 guys, you are going to want to get one of these in your inventory. Especially these Marine Corps reject ones that have were USMC and were crossed out. Those are, you know, Colt actually sold those for a premium. And they went really quickly. Guys wanted to get them in their collections. You don't see a lot of those available because once somebody's got them, they're keeping them. They're very valuable. Now, again, I want to tell you the right side is very similar in the way that they're marked. It's the left side that's different. The commercial one will be, as you see here, Colt M45A1 with the 3 stars, but you will see USMC on the actual Marine guns. So if you see one that says USMC on it, you actually have a Marine Corps gun rather than a commercial gun. You see the crossed out USMC, you see one of the ones that was returned to Colt, and generally you'll see the finish is all worn off from the Cerakote coat, not adhering very well. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take this thing out to the range and we're going to see how it shoots. Well, the pistol worked flawlessly like you would have expected it to. You know, it's a 1911. You know, and it worked well. You know, it shoots accurately. You know, they always have. But the main issue we're talking about here is the use for a military pistol. All you 1911 guys, I'm sure you guys are going to love this thing, and I'm probably going to be cursed at by a lot of you guys just because I don't like M1911s. Just giving you my honest assessment, my honest opinion of you know, the status of what modern military combat arms are. Well, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.